for a number of years, John Lewin was in charge of the electronic section. By this time, we'd moved from the 6th floor down to the ground floor in room 3. We'd moved from room 3 and we were in Ronan Cottage. And John Lewin had always been a chap who liked to get on with what he was doing, and he didn't really like running other things. And I was working with him, and I sort of ran a lot of the day-to-day requirements of the department. He was busy working mostly for physiology and for a chap called Burns in physiology. He did a lot of work for Burns. And he also was getting into computers in a big way, and he eventually transferred to computing with a chap called Dave Everett, who had been temporarily in charge of electronics. And so Dave and John Satchell and John Lewin moved to computing, leaving me in electronics. And at that time that meant I was the senior technical person there, and I had to run the section. At that time, again, we had about 3 or 4 engineers. Some of them were students, and I can talk about students in a minute if you want me to, but the upshot of it was that my role became a role of talking to the scientists about what they wanted, deciding who would be best suited to do it of the people that I had, and allocating the work, and then making sure that it was done. And I would organise the buying of all the components, and I would talk to whoever was going to do it about how they were going to do it, whether I thought, not that I'm saying I know more about it than anybody, because I certainly didn't, and a lot of the people I had working for me knew a lot more about the detail of what they were doing than I did, but I had a rough idea about whether something would work or not, and I've always been quite keen on simplicity. In my opinion, the simpler a solution is, the more likely it is to continue to work properly and be understandable by somebody who needs to mend it. But going back to the change in my role became more hands-off in terms of electronic design and build, and more managing other people doing it. And that was like that really for the last 10 or 15 years of my role in electronics, and it really stemmed from the departure of John Lewin.